Hello and welcome to the Attorney Post, where we bring you the inside baseball scoop from top legal experts across the country. I'm your host, Justin West. All right, and we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome again to the Attorney Post, where we discuss what's going on in various facets of the law with lawyers who are at the top of their game to help you navigate all of the ins and outs of the legal fields and also the various jurisdictions around our beautiful country. Because, as always, if you don't know your rights, you don't have any rights. I'm joined today with James, who also goes by Jimmy Grant, who is one of the co-founders out there of Georgia Trial Attorneys. They are a full-service injury law firm, and he's got a lot of skill and a lot of wisdom to share with us today. So we're going to be digging into what he's doing. As always, let's take a look at his website first. You can get there by visiting gtakg.com. Also, their phone number, I believe, is 833 for the win. That's the number 4 thewin.com, and that forwards to their main website, which is gtakg.com. So 833 for the win.com. That's the number 4 8334. I'm going to guess, is that part of your phone number too, Jimmy?
You would be a smart one to assume. Yes. 833 for the win. That's our number. That's how you get a hold of us.
There we go. Call them right there. All right. So we will be jumping in here in just a minute. But first, as always, we are going to read from one of our sponsors. And our first sponsor today, as usual, is injuryattorneyleads.com. Personal injury attorneys spend a lot of money and time advertising, but it can be very difficult to get qualified leads. You're usually paying for leads that aren't qualified, or worse, you're getting leads from the internet that are no longer interested in talking with you, if you can even get them on the phone at all. These leads can average anywhere from $100 to $500 a piece, and you can usually burn through 5 to 10 of them in order to get one serious prospective client on the phone. The solution is injuryattorneyleads.com. Injuryattorneyleads.com has people reaching out to them all across the country. People fill out a form requesting help, and that's where most of their lead generation companies stop. But injuryattorneyleads.com is just getting started. They reach out to every person who fills out a form, re-verifies their information on the phone before live transferring qualified individuals to your law firm. These are only people who have been in an accident and who want to speak to an attorney about their case. You can be sure that these potential clients meet your criteria for a qualified lead, and close rates average above 60%. Set up a time to talk with a client generation specialist by visiting injuryattorneyleads.com and clicking on any of the options to schedule a time. That's injuryattorneyleads.com. All right. And I am joined with Jimmy Grant. And we discussed before, Jimmy doesn't mind if you call him James or Jimmy. Just don't call him late for dinner and he'll still show up anyway. How you doing, Jimmy?
I'm doing great, Justin. Thanks very much for having me. Looking forward to being here and, sharing a little bit of personal injury knowledge to those that need it.
Awesome. Well, James, he has been practicing for a good while down there in Georgia. He actually began his career as an Assistant Solicitor-General with the Gwinnett County Solicitor General's office and the Municipal County Court of Suwanee, advocating for the rights of the state of Georgia and for those victimized by criminal defendants. Following which he successfully argued a case, in fact, during or in front of the Georgia Supreme Court, which is pretty awesome. He has spent years, following his years as a service as a prosecutor, he accepted a position as an associate attorney with a boutique personal injury firm. And after consistently proving himself as a top-tier litigator and client advocate, he was promoted to a senior associate attorney. And now he is the founding partner of Georgia Trial Attorneys at Kirchen Grant, LLC. Jimmy represents and counsels each client and prospective client in a highly trained way. Obviously, he's a very hyper aggressive attorney, and he's here today to share a lot of his experience with us and help you, especially if you are in and around the Georgia area, to know what your rights are in order to make sure that again, if you don't know your rights, you don't have any. So he also is a husband and I believe a father, if I am not mistaken, as well. So question number 1 I always have is, what did I miss, James?
Well, there's a lot that's there, and I appreciate you going over all that. But the big thing is when you're injured, you just don't know what's going on. I mean, there's a lot that's going through your mind. Not only is your car wrecked, but you're hurt, you're missing time from work. I mean, you just don't know what to do. So my biggest advice to anybody that's in this position is you got to go backwards. You got to prepare before it happens. Because guess what? You're in the Atlanta area, you live in Georgia. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you're going to be in a car accident. So you don't want to make a rash decision and just go with the first person that you find on Google. You want to have somebody in your pocket, somebody that you know, like, and trust. And that's what we're here to do. Doing this with you today, all of the stuff we do on social media, you can find me on social media, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. accident attorney JG. That's who I am. I'm out there giving free legal advice and tips and just letting people know and prepare for when it happens, not if it happens.
All right, that's awesome. So, Jimmy, what got you into law in the first place, and particularly what brought you to this facet of the law, injury law?
Oh man, I mean that goes way back. You think you want to do one thing, and then when you're in law school, I had the ability to actually try cases through the district attorney's office in the county in the when I went to law school in Alabama, and it was a really cool thing. You don't even have a bar license, and as long as you're supervised, you get to try cases. And this was in the criminal court system. And once you get a taste of litigation, I mean, not everybody's made for it. Not everybody's cut out to do it, but I just loved it. And I was like, this is what I want to do. So that's how I got started with the solicitor's office, which, Georgia's a little bit different than some other states. Some other states, the district attorney handles everything. In Georgia, the district attorney handles felonies and the solicitor general handles misdemeanors. So I got in there, and for a few years, I mean, I was trying tons and tons of cases, whether it's DUIs or criminal trespass, family violence, battery. I mean, a lot of different misdemeanor cases, but it gives you a whole lot of trial experience. And then I learned how to advocate for people that were wronged, whether it was the state, whether it was injured victims. I learned how to fight for people. And that was such a skill that was so valuable and so easily transferable to helping people that are injured and also getting wronged by the insurance company.
Gotcha. So what makes Georgia law unique? I know that there's idiosyncrasies in all different jurisdictions out there. What makes doing especially injury law different in Georgia and the various areas of Georgia that you're aware of?
I mean, I think it's not just Georgia. It's across, all states, all areas of law. Is you first have to have somebody that's specific. If you're an attorney that is the old school method of you're the only attorney in town, or you're the only attorney or one of a few, and you do a little bit of everything. Yeah, they may be able to do your will, and they may be able to help you out with this collection thing or help you out if you get in trouble with the law, but they're just going to be okay at a little bit of everything. They're not going to be great at anything. So from when we first started this firm, we were like, we are going to be specialists, because if you're a specialist, you're going to be good at what you do. If you dabble in a little bit of everything, you're just mediocre. And who wants a mediocre attorney? Ain't nobody got time for that.
Jack of all trades, master of none, as they say.
Exactly.
So what facet of the law, as far as injury law, would you say is your forte? I mean, obviously there's many aspects. There's automobile accidents, there's slip and falls, there's all sorts of stuff. If you could only do one aspect of injury law, what would it be and why?
So that's kind of where we focus. We're different than a lot of other personal injury attorneys that are out there. Is they'll handle everything. Whether it's a nursing home abuse case or a wrongful death case or a car accident case or a slip and fall or negligent security. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. We stick with motor vehicle collisions. If you're in a motor vehicle and you've been hit, you've been a driver, passenger, or pedestrian, we're going to handle your case. And that's all we do. We don't mess around with any other stuff. Now, I've got some connections and I know who to send you to and I know who to refer you with because, I'm a networking guy. That's what I do. And it serves my clients well because, again, you need to know somebody. I know a lot of somebodies, but I'm not going to handle that stuff myself. I have my specialty. I stick with car wrecks. I stick with motor vehicle collisions, and it's served us and our clients very well.
Gotcha. No, that makes perfect sense. And, I talk to a lot of attorneys on a regular basis, and many of them are very well networked. And I'm always kind of, I guess, relieved to see that there's a general camaraderie when it comes to sharing, hey, this is not my forte, this is his. And even though this could be $1 million case, go see this guy because he's going to take better care of you. And I think that shows in general that you guys do care about the clients and you want to make sure that you're serving them in the best way possible. And it's not just about the money. It's about making sure they get the best result. I think that's a really great thing. So, let's just talk about COVID for a minute, only because I know that it affects everybody. We're past a year at this point, over 390 days into 15 days to slow the spread, as they say. And, I've talked to a lot of attorneys in a lot of areas, and there's so many facets that have changed from, what it takes for their clients to even get medical treatment to make sure they're okay, or for their clients to come in to talk with them. Evidentiary hearings, courtroom trials, etc. How has COVID-19, how has the response to it, the shutdowns and everything else affected your clients, and how has it affected your firm?
Man, I mean, it's one of those deals where, I mean, there's good and bad. There's two sides of the coin, and we've been able to look at it and experience a little bit of both. Obviously, when COVID first happened, I mean, everything shut down. The great thing about how we set up this firm in the very beginning was we were a paperless law firm from the beginning. We don't do paper. Everything that comes in the office is scanned, shredded. We don't store it. We don't have it. Everything's digital. So that very much allowed us to, when the stay-at-home orders went in place, we sent everybody home with laptops and we kept running. There wasn't a shutdown. There wasn't a slowdown when it came to our office. It's just we flipped the switch and we were all virtual the next day. So from our client standpoint, we were still able to serve where, some of my, compatriots here on the, legal side, their business is shut down. They didn't have the ability to do it. So, they're 1 minute they can't go to the office, or they don't have the staff that can come to the office to work. They can't work. We were able to glide right through that. So that was good that we, started with that and we're able to be prepared for this. The bad thing, obviously you can't get your clients to doctors because doctors aren't seeing people, or if you're really injured, the hospitals, they're super sketchy about that.
Mhm.
Now we're at a point where things are different. People are going back to the hospitals. Hospitals are, going forward with some elective procedures or non-emergency procedures. But it was great to work with some doctors that were also on the cutting edge of things and doing a lot of telehealth. So, you would be able to come in for your first couple of visits, get your first couple sets of evaluations and diagnostic imaging, and then the doctor is able to meet with you virtually, go over exercises, go over stretches, do other evaluations, still have those meetings, prescribe medication, and do a lot of things virtually because, again, COVID changed us. For however you want to consider it, it changed us. And so being able to pivot, whether you're a doctor, whether you're an attorney, it just helps to be able to do that.
Gotcha. So if I had just gotten in an accident and I'm driving around Alpharetta, let's say, or somewhere down yonder. I'm actually in Kansas City, obviously, as our longtime listeners know. Obviously, the law is different from state to state. What should I know and what should I do the moment I get into a car accident?
The biggest thing that I stress to everyone, and everyone hears me say it, especially on social media and stuff, is I call the insurance companies what they are, and they're just straight up greedy. Insurance, we're required by law to have it, but insurance is a business.
Yeah.
And it's a for-profit business. So they're in the business of lining their shareholders' pockets with money.
Mhm.
They're not in the business of paying claims or righting wrongs or making you whole or putting you back in the position you were before that wreck occurred. That's not the way this works. So letting someone know that from the moment you're in that car wreck, the insurance company is not on your side. You're not in good hands when it comes to a car wreck, whether it's your insurance company or their insurance company. No insurance company is going to truly help you. So it's always best to have an attorney from the beginning. And I get it too. I get it. That seems very self-serving because I'm in the business and I'm doing that. But at the same time, I'm not saying come to me. I'm just saying get an attorney. Because it's kind of like playing a video. If you play a video game for the first time, do you expect to set a high score? Not a chance. When you're playing a video game, in this instance, like you're in a car wreck, you're playing a video game not just against casual gamers, you're playing against the pros. There's no mulligans, no do-overs, you can't quit, you can't restart, like you're stuck on this train. So if you don't do everything right and protect yourself from the beginning, you're going to hurt your claim, you're going to hurt the value of your case. And money's not everything, but that's the only thing we can do to get you back to the place you were. And also making sure that you get the treatment that you need first is such a huge priority. So when you're in that wreck, there's a few things everyone needs to do right off the bat. First thing, you don't need to talk with the police. All you need to do is exchange information. Don't tell them whether you're hurt or not. Don't really say anything. Let them do their investigation and don't get into this banter back and forth. get the other person's insurance card, and take as much pictures and video as you can. Once you do that, you need to get checked out. Whether it's urgent care, ER, your primary care physician, one of my doctors, you need to see somebody ASAP. And then you need to get an attorney. Those are the big ticket items, because doing that quickly and acting quickly, so that way you can take on that greedy insurance company, that's what's going to help you the most.
Puts you in the best positioning to take them on. So what is the statute of limitations there? I know some places it's as little as a year. In some places it goes a bit longer. How long do you have? What's the ticking clock for the average person who's been injured?
Yeah, so luckily we're not like Tennessee. Tennessee, you've got a 1-year statute of limitations, so you got to be fast on those suckers. But in Georgia, it's 2 years. Now, what that means is you have 2 years from the date of the accident to file a lawsuit. Doesn't mean you have 2 years to resolve the entire case. It's just if you haven't settled the case with the insurance company by 2 years, you need to file a lawsuit by that 2-year timeline so you can continue moving the case forward.
Gotcha. So I'm going to shift feet here for just a minute, or shift our footing. I always like to dig in a little bit more and get some of your backstory. And of course, one of the things that tells us the most about people is how they handle success, but also failure. I imagine you guys have a pretty good win rate. Most attorneys I interview do. But I'm sure you've had a handful of cases that just didn't go the way you had planned. Can you share with our listeners, Jimmy, a time that you, I sometimes, again, I don't like using the word fail, but I think it's appropriate sometimes. Sometimes we fail, but it's only truly a fail, of course, if you walk away. So what is a time in your legal practice where you sort of failed, or things didn't go the way you planned, but you learned from it? And what did you learn, and how does it help you take care of your current and future clients?
So it's not actually a case, but there's something right on my mind that I know I'm going to go to. And it's, if I could go back in time and I could talk to myself when I was starting this law firm, I would have said from the beginning, you need to have a business coach. That would have been one of the greatest things that would have helped me and my clients. Because when you go to law school, they teach you how to be a lawyer. They do not teach you how to be a business person. You don't have to have an MBA to start a law practice. All you have to have is a law degree and pass the bar in your state, and you could open up your doors and start doing business. There's no one checking to see whether you're running that business appropriately, whether you have the policies and procedures and the insurance and all the things that go into a business. Because this is not just a law practice that I run. This is a business that practices law. And you can be the best attorney on the face of the planet. But if you don't have the business skills to run your business appropriately, your clients are going to suffer. Things are going to fall through the crack. You may knock it out in the courtroom, but if you don't file the case because you didn't, or because you missed a statute of limitations, you're not going to get to the courtroom to show your skill set. So we were able to run a very good business for several years. But after 4 years, we got a business coach and things have just taken off. Our processes are so much better, and we're able to serve our clients in such a better way, and to onboard and bring on new staff in such a way that it's maximizing our clients' recovery through the process.
That's awesome. So one of the other questions, the related question, is what would you tell younger Jimmy? So there we go. Get a business coach, follow the processes, etc. All right. So let's shift feet again here just a little bit, and let's brag a little bit. Tell us about some of your best cases, some of the things you're most proud of, maybe things that looked bleak, like there's no way this is going to fly. There's no way we're going to be able to get you taken care of. And then everything worked out great. Or you just went in super prepared. Maybe the defendants weren't as prepared, and you were able to make the case for your clients and just knock it out of the park. So what are a couple of times that you guys just knocked it out of the park?
So you think you know a lot when it comes to your client and the case, because we have access to so much, but there's sometimes things that you just don't know. And that happened to us several years back in a jury trial that I was trying. We go forward, we're trying the case, we're in the middle of examining my client. I get done with my client. And when I'm done asking my client questions, the next step in the process is the defense attorney gets to cross-examine my client. And my client had taken a video and he had posted the video on social media right after the wreck. And it shows the lady came into his lane, hit him, and it was just a very short video.
Mm-hmm.
That's the video that was provided to me. The first question out of the defense attorney's mouth when he gets up was, Mr. So-and-so, that wasn't the entire video, was it? And right then in that moment, my heart drops. I was like, what are you talking about? This is the video you gave me. What else is there? And then there's more to the video. This client of mine is dog cussing the defendant and just going on and on and on and saying all these terrible, nasty things about her. And then he flips the camera around himself and says, oh, my neck, oh, my back, time to get paid. I'm sitting there, I'm like, are you kidding me? Is this real life? Like, is this happening to me? Now, I'll say that my client was a comedian and he had a big social media following. He likes to put out content and, engage his followers. But in that moment, I was like, we just lost this case and I just wasted all of this time. Through what I call some impeccable lawyering skills, I was still able to get a sizable verdict for him, well above his medical bills, well more than any of us expected after that came out. And it even shocked the defense attorney and the insurance company. They, after that, they were like, this is a big fat zero. We're going to win. Meanwhile, the jury came back. They still loved me and my pitch and my spin on it, to where I turned a zero into a hero somehow. So it's a funny, but it's also a pretty big win given what had happened.
I can imagine your heart just kind of sinks when you're like, oh, but wait, there's more evidence, there's more video. And yeah, that would definitely, I think a lot of attorneys would really have a hard time pivoting and pulling a win out of that one. So that's that's impressive. You mentioned that you felt like, all this time was gone. All this time was wasted and lost, et cetera. How much time does an average case take? I mean, obviously I know you're going to have some, what's your longest case? The one that took the most time? What's your shortest case? And how much time on average do you put into preparing a case for your clients?
Yeah, I mean, the numbers are going to vary, wildly. What we try to do is on a case that comes in and the client gets done with their medical treatment. That's my first primary concern is I want to get you better. Once I get you better, I need to get your records, bills, all the documents we can to show how this wreck affected you and changed you. And then we send that off to the insurance company in a demand package. We try to get that demand package out between 45 and 60 days after you're done with treatment. And a lot of times we're able to settle cases soon thereafter because it's just a simple negotiation once we give all the information. But these insurance companies, they don't see things I do. So even if they put money on a case, it may not be worth it for my client to accept, or they could be leaving money on the table. If that's the case, we need to file a lawsuit. And we file that lawsuit to escalate things to get up to that higher level adjuster, because you always start off at the bottom. And sometimes you're able to still work a good deal there because, again, time is money. If a client doesn't want to invest a lot of time, hey, maybe the numbers work, but then if we need to go to litigation, there's obviously more effort, but we get to a higher level adjuster, higher level evaluation. When we go to litigation, sometimes cases can be quick and they can wrap up right away. Sometimes they can take several months. Sometimes they can take a year or more. Obviously with COVID, in Georgia, the courts shut down in March. I had one of the last jury trials in the state in February, and we've just now started jury trials back. So you've got almost a 14-month backlog of trials. And I've got car wrecks that happened back in 2016 and 2017 that are still pending because they were ready to go back in 2020, but we're just now sitting waiting.
Stuck in that COVID backlog. That's a That's a pain. Have any of your clients missed out on? I'm just curious, or are you aware of anybody who's had clients who've missed out on being able to prosecute a case and win because they actually succumbed to COVID? Like, because of the delay, they weren't able to get justice. And what happens in those situations?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be one of those deals where you have to look at it from a different perspective. Obviously, if somebody passes as a result of contracting COVID, you want your attorney involved in that process because there's ways around that. Just because you're sick or just because you have cancer and may have been involved in a car wreck and those two don't have anything to do together, we can still take your deposition. We can still prepare your case. We can still settle your case even if you're gone because your estate still has the claim. So again, that's why communication is so key because I want to know what's going on in your life with the wreck and outside of the wreck because we need to have that constant communication to know how we can play off and prepare for what's coming down the line. But as far as just COVID affecting people generally, yeah, I mean, it's affected a ton of people, whether they haven't been able to go to the doctor like they should, or whether they're scared to go to the doctor, whether their doctor's not accepting people. There's a lot of things where we, again, have to pivot based upon the cards that we're dealt.
Gotcha. No, that makes perfect sense. So here in a minute, I'm going to ask you the magic wand question. I always like to find out what you would change about the law, how it affects you, how it affects your clients. If I gave you a magic wand and you could wave it and just make a change, or if you need a genie lamp, I can probably provide a hypothetical genie lamp as well. Before we do that, though, I am going to jump over and read from our second sponsor. And before I do that, I'm going to go ahead over and show your site one more time for our listeners and our viewers. Particularly for our listeners or for our viewers, obviously our listeners, you can't really see what his website looks like, but you can visit it at gtakg.com. I'm guessing that's Georgia Trial Attorneys Kirchner and Grant, gtakg.com. You can also just visit 833forthewin.com. That's 833forthewin.com. Our second sponsor today is Rocket SEO from hundreds of customers. Are you a business owner who knows that being on page one of Google is important, but you're afraid to work with a search engine optimization company because you know that SEO is both expensive and slow? Well, it doesn't have to be. Not anymore. Rocket SEO from hundreds of customers forces you to page one of Google safely and legally through the power of the news media. Rocket SEO utilizes a national news media campaign across the gamut of different news sites that ranks instantly inside of Google. You can boost your website's ranking in Google in 1 week or less with a simple system that leverages the power of major media companies and network affiliates of ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox, as well as local stations from the Boston Herald to the Sacramento Bee and all stops in between to leverage these powerful network sites to put you onto page one of Google in under a week, oftentimes 2 or 3 times on page one, oftentimes for dozens of keywords, all because you're using valued, trusted, branded sites. To learn more, visit hundredsofcustomers.com/rocket or email press@hundredsofcustomers.com. That's hundredsofcustomers.com/rocket. All right. So I'm about to give you the magic wand here, James. And with this wand, you can make a change to the law, something that maybe it's just a frustration. So it just annoys the heck out of you. Why do I have to keep doing this? Why do I have to fill out this TPS form, right? Or maybe it's something that this is an unfair facet of the law that really keeps my clients from being able to get the help that they need. So here comes the wand. What are you going to change?
Well, I appreciate your Office Space reference because everyone needs to watch that movie. It's just pure gold. But if I'm taking on this magic wand, I'm not necessarily changing the law, but I'm changing the system because I can't stand these insurance companies. They are cutthroat and ruthless and greedy. And I just wish they would do the right thing. I wish that as a plaintiff's attorney, you didn't need me. I wish I didn't have a job in this field because that would mean that the insurance company is evaluating claims properly, treating people fairly, and giving injured victims what they deserve. But unfortunately, as long as there's big money at stake, because it's big business, you're going to need somebody to fight. And, I'm here. I'm serving hundreds of clients every day. We have 600 active cases right now. Wow. And that number is only growing because there's so many people that are wronged by these insurance companies. So yeah, if I could change one thing, it's going to be the insurance company doing the right thing because I can take my skill set to another area of law. I can litigate cases in any courtroom with any case. I don't want to because I'm really good at this.
Yeah.
And I want to hold the insurance companies accountable and to let them know that when they see my name under a client's case, that it's time to pay up because you're going to have to prove your case, but you're not going to be able to do it. And I'm going to be able to do it with mine.
There you go. So follow-up question. Your magic wand worked. Insurance companies, totally fair all the time. What aspect of law are you going to go into? Or are you going to, just go learn to play the banjo? And
I mean, playing the banjo would be pretty cool. I obviously don't have that skill set, so you never know, what's going to come down life's road. But probably something using my, analytical engineering background. I, would probably either do something with patent law or something with environmental law. Just, something that takes those skill sets of an analytical mindset and applies it to the law.
That's good to know. You're going to stay in law. You got a passion for the law, and that's great. Well, that's about all I've got, and I don't want to keep you too long because I know that your time is valuable as well. I do always like to give my guests the final word, though. So if you had any parting advice, James, that you wanted to share with our listeners today and our viewers, what would that parting advice be?
Just don't be afraid of attorneys. A lot of people get super nervous and they feel sketchy, or they feel like it's a bad thing that, I'm calling an attorney after an accident. Well, guess what? Again, the insurance company, they're not on your side, and you don't know what you don't know. You may think you're fine, but you're not a doctor. You need to get checked out. You deserve it after an accident to make sure that you're in the same place physically that you were before that wreck occurred. Because if you don't get checked out, you don't make a claim, 6 months down the road, you find out you need surgery, now you're in a rock and a hard place because all this time has passed, where maybe you could have avoided that early on had you just gone and seen a chiropractor for a few weeks, or done some physical therapy, or maybe had a couple of visits with an orthopedic doctor. Again, the whole thing with prevention, it's key. You need to do it, and it's only going to help you long term.
That's right. Take care of yourselves, everyone out there. Make sure that you're taken care of. But if you have been injured in a car accident, particularly if you are in the state of Georgia, please feel free to reach out to any competent injury attorney. But we think very highly of Georgia trial attorneys. And of course, you can call 833-4-THE-WIN and get a free consultation. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, you guys work on a contingency basis, as do most attorneys. Is that correct? So you have nothing to lose. If you've been injured, pick up the phone and call 833-4-THE-WIN. Pick up a phone and know what your rights are. Because as we always say on this podcast, if you don't know your rights, you don't have any. And these are attorneys who will go to bat for you. They'll take your case, and you don't pay a single thing until they get a victory for you. And that victory can be life-changing. It's not about, living in a mansion for the rest of your life. It's about making sure that if you lost your ability to work, if you're going to need therapy, if you're going to need assistance living the rest of your life, or even worse, if you've lost a loved one, due to the negligence of somebody else, you have rights. But if you don't know what those rights are, you're going to miss out on them. And there is there's time limits. There's always things working against you. So you need the competent advice and guidance of an attorney. And after this conversation, I don't think I could recommend anyone, at least no one higher than I would Georgia trial attorneys here, having talked to James today. So again, you can call 833-4-THE-WIN or visit 833-4THEWIN.com, or also a slew of acronyms, gtakg.com. As always, we will have links to them down below in the show notes as well. My name is Justin West, and you've been listening to The Attorney Post. We're bringing you cutting-edge legal entertainment, knowledge, news, and advice. Of course, as always, this show does not constitute legal advice, just advice about getting legal help. You can find us online at theattorneypost.com. You can also find us, of course, on our YouTube channel and across all of the various podcast platforms, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, Apple, etc. So if you like what you're hearing, please feel free to give us a subscribe, give us a like, leave us a comment down below. And until next time, stay safe, stay free. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Justin. See you.
Thank you.